Coffee, isn't it great? Well, so are cats, but today's video is about coffee because it's very important when we're traveling or when we're living in other countries to be able to order a cup of coffee. It can be difficult to understand the people working in the cafe, or it can be difficult to know what to say to be able to order the coffee that you want. So today I want to introduce some phrases that perhaps the person working in the cafe might say, which we usually call a barista, or some phrases you can use to order the coffee that you want. So let's start by seeing some phrases the barista might say to you when you enter the cafe. Oh, hi there. How are you doing today? So at first, the barista, or the cafe worker, he said, "Hi there." So you might be thinking, there? Here? What? But for some reason, to native English speakers, that sounds a bit more friendly. So people often say, "Hi there," "Hello there," "Hey there." And when we speak to customers, of course, we want to sound friendly and inviting, so that's quite common. And then it's the same with "How are you today?" So you might think, do you mean compared to yesterday? But basically it doesn't mean anything. It just makes the sentence sound a bit softer, a bit more friendly. How are you today? How are you doing today? How's it going today? Just makes it sound a bit nicer. Okay, let's see what he's going to say next. How can I help you? So, how can I help you? That's a common way to ask customers, basically, what do you want? Of course, if we just said, what do you want? That wouldn't sound very polite. So to customers, we often say, how can I help you? They might also say, what can I get you? And again, what can I get you just means, what would you like? Which is probably the question you see in your textbooks. What would you like? And sometimes people working in cafes might ask you that, what would you like? But they'll probably say one of the others more often. Another phrase you might hear is, are you ready to order? Especially if you're kind of looking at the menu like, what should I order? And they might ask you, are you ready to order? If you're looking at the menu for a very long time, then they might ask you, do you need any help with the menu? So that's a common phrase, especially these days, because many different cafes and restaurants have different styles of menus. So even for a native speaker, if I'm looking at an English menu, sometimes I'm still a bit confused, and it's quite common that customers do need some help. And when you know what coffee you want to drink, if it's a cappuccino, for example, you can say, I'll have a cappuccino. You could also say, I'd like a cappuccino. I would like a cappuccino. And a very common phrase that native speakers use is, can I get a cappuccino? Can I get a cappuccino? And after you've said that, the barista is probably going to ask you, what size would you like? A lot of these big chain cafes, they usually have strange names for the small, medium, and large. And again, even native English speakers, we get confused, but you can see the order and you can see the price. So you can just guess, okay, that's the small one, that's the medium one, that's the large one. Or you can just ask them, give me a small, give me a medium. And they might say, if you say, give me a large and you're at Starbucks, they might say, do you mean a venti or venti? I don't even remember. And you just say, yeah, the big one. Give me the big one. Give me a big coffee. If you're in a very big cafe, they might ask you, can I get your name? And this phrase, can I get your name? It's just a more conversational way to say, can you please tell me your name? So they might say, could you please tell me your name? Or they might say, can I get your name? Or can I get a name? And they just want to know a name to write on your cup so they can call your name when your coffee is ready. If you're in a big chain cafe or a franchise cafe, they might ask you this next question and it could be confusing, so I wanted to make sure you understand. So here we go. Do you know just for $1 more you can get a large? So they often have some kind of deal and they want you to spend a bit more money. And it's quite common in these franchises or chains that they'll say, do you know for $1 more, $2 more, you can get a large, or you can get another coffee, or you can get a cookie. So some of these questions could be a bit confusing, especially if they're using different names for sizes and things. So if you don't care, just say, no, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. If they say, do you know? Blah, 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 blah. They're probably trying to get you to buy more. So you can just say, oh, it's okay, it's okay. Or if you want the deal, you could say, excuse me, could you explain a bit slower, please? Then once you have finally answered all these questions and ordered your coffee, the barista will say to you, okay, that'll be $8.59, please. And that means you need to pay them. So the barista there said, that'll be $8.59. So that means your total is, or you need to pay me, Now again, in your textbooks, you might see something like $8.59 or €8.59, or if you're in the UK, £8.59. But this is very long, so usually we break prices into the dollar or the pound or the euro or any currency, and then the smaller part. So I gave you the example $8.59. So if, for example, it's $10.50, can you guess what it would be? $10.50. So just breaking the number into two parts. $10.50, $10.50. This could be difficult to understand if you're not very comfortable with listening to English, but you can always ask them to repeat it. Or if you look a bit confused like this, they'll probably show you the screen of the cash register, like, and okay, then you can give them the money. One final question they might ask you is this: do you have a loyalty card? And you probably have a similar system in your country, in cafes, restaurants, shops, even supermarkets. You have some kind of loyalty card or point card. And with this, usually in cafes, you get stamps. And then when you get enough stamps, they'll give you a free coffee. Yeah. And the last thing they will say to you is probably, okay, thank you very much, enjoy. And that just means thank you and please enjoy your coffee. So it's a very common phrase we use in cafes, restaurants, bars, anywhere where you're eating or drinking something. When the staff gives the customer the product, the drink or the pizza or the fries, they'll say, enjoy. And it just means, please enjoy these. Maybe it's obvious. Okay, there we go. So the next time you order coffee in English, it should be a bit easier for you to understand what the barista is saying and also how you can answer their questions. Let me know in the comments how many of these phrases you knew already, or which ones you think are going to be useful next time. And don't be shy about commenting. I know sometimes in a new language, it can be a little bit scary to start outputting or start writing things, especially on the internet where everybody can see. But please don't be shy. Let me know what phrases were useful for you, and you can also let me know what kind of situations you'd like me to make more videos about. So the reason I was thinking about coffee is because I just started a Buy Me a Coffee profile. So if you really like my videos and you'd like to send me a little tip so I can go and buy a coffee, I'm sure you all know I really like coffee, then please check out the link in the description of this video. And on there, yeah, you can buy me a coffee or 2 coffees or however many coffees you'd like to get for me. And of course, I would really appreciate it. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share with all of your friends, and I'll see you all back here next time. What are you doing? Are you sleeping? You need a coffee?